You're live on Freedom Friday. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hey, Tim Black, it's Dr. Bruce. How you doing tonight?
What's up, Doc, man? How are you doing, bro?
I'm doing well. Before I forget to mention it, everybody's talking about this shooter being a Bernie bro. I don't think they talk about who he actually voted for, because I'm betting he didn't vote for Jill Stein. I'm betting he voted for Hillary. If I had voted for Hillary after campaigning for Bernie and volunteering like I did and donating money like I did, I'd probably lose my mind too. I don't want to make light of it, but nobody ever talks about who he voted for.
Wow.
In the presidential run. But that's not why I'm calling tonight. I'm calling tonight because I want to talk medicine.
Do it.
You still there?
Yes, sir. Go right ahead, Bruce.
Perfect. I'm actually on the road, so I can't see the screen. I don't have a screen to see you, so that's why I just checking to make sure I still had connection. I wanted to talk a little bit about Shawn Lucas, and that young lady that called a couple of calls before me here. She's absolutely right. When they start coming after you, she's absolutely right. I worked for a hospital, and they started coming after me. Somebody tried to run me off a road, off of the freeway. My attorney told me it was probably the hospital, so I think it was probably the hospital since my attorney was telling me that. But on the topic of Shawn Lucas, 3 drugs were found in his system, right? One of them is fentanyl. Have you talked about, I know you talked a little bit about it, but I don't know if you've gone into detail about these things.
Now, go right ahead, Dr. Bruce. I want to hear this as well.
So fentanyl happens to be one of the primary drugs that can kill you. It's an opioid, which means it's related to opium and morphine. And just like you hear morphine can kill you, so can fentanyl. And interestingly, it's also, of those 3, it is the one that's injectable and transdermal, which means that you can put it on somebody's skin and it can get absorbed that way, or you can inject it and it can get absorbed that way. So that's actually a very good sort of a red flag drug. If I saw that one in somebody's system and they happen to pass away, I'm gonna be thinking about asking questions. There's different levels of it that typically lead to intoxication versus therapeutic, and it takes quite a bit more for it to lead to overdose. Which means usually, the reason I bring that up, I'll say the numbers. It's 0.3 to 3 micrograms per liter for therapeutic, and then 1 to 10 micrograms per liter for intoxicated. But you usually have to get into the hundreds for it to kill you. Up to 300 will kill you. And Shawn was a big enough guy that he could tolerate taking more of it. He wasn't like the size of a small woman. So he could handle taking more of it. More of it was required for him to become more than intoxicated. Okay, that's fentanyl. The other drug he was on is Flexeril, or cyclobenzaprine, and that's a muscle relaxer, which is available as an oral medication, but also in suspension, meaning you can pour it into someone's throat. The last one is a very bizarre one. The last one is an opioid similar to the fentanyl, which means you wouldn't normally take it necessarily together. And now if you say, okay, well, what if you're having fun with it? What if you're taking it recreationally to get high? Well, now if you're doing that, you wouldn't typically double up on it. Even people who are drinking a little lean, they're not mixing up multiple stuff in it. They're putting their single dose of whatever their opioid of choice and mixing it in, and that's it. So why were there 2 of them in his case? And one of them, the second one, and I have a hard time pronouncing it, except for it's also called kratom. And I'm going to give it a try here. Mitragynine, and that one apparently is used recreationally a lot in Southeast Asia. Hasn't really caught on in the States. So if I were to look at these 3 drugs and find them in his system, I wouldn't instantly say that they were there for recreational reasons. But if they're there for therapeutic reasons, like he has a history of back pain or whatever, he has chronic pain of some sort, there's a doctor who had to give it to him. If there's a doctor that prescribed it, at least in Arizona and California, the medical boards there would be involved trying to at least track the fact that he perished over those drugs, if not do more to try to investigate and find out why was there an overdose, usually with the thought of maybe this doctor needs to lose his medical license. So there should be, under normal circumstances, there should be a lot of paper trails all over the place in this particular case. And there may be that we don't know about, but from different perspectives, there should be a lot of paper trails, because this is a little bit unusual, to say the least. The combination and the fact that most people, if they're on prescription medications, they don't usually die over it, but when they do, the medical board's involved looking at the doctors who prescribed them.
My brother. Very interesting, Dr. Bruce. Look, Dr. Bruce, man, I appreciate you calling in and dropping that truth for us, getting us all updated and helping us understand. Wow. You know, when I talk about Shawn Lucas, I immediately get pushback. It's like, all right, people overdose. We know that. People typically overdose over, you know, one drug. When Dr. Bruce said, you know, when you start thinking about the amount of this drug in your system, look, I know this is a movie and it's not based on real life, but there's a movie with George Clooney. He's like a fixer. And there's this guy who works for his corporation, Michael Clayton, that's it. There's a scene where these 2 guys go in and kill this, I think this guy works at a law firm, and they wanted him out the way. And the speed in which they kill this guy in this movie, you can't tell me, you cannot tell me that it's impossible for someone to be killed in such a manner. You got to watch the scene. It just reminds me, when I watched it recently, it just reminds me of how easy it is for anyone to be drugged and make it look as if they were on some type of narcotic. It's very simple. And anyway, watch it. I highly recommend you guys go check that out. Michael Clayton is the name of the movie. And thank you, Dr. Bruce, for that call, man. I appreciate you.